I transmigrated into the role of a discarded concubine who was abandoned by the young master after causing endless trouble. Following the plot, I tormented the young master day and night, spending his silver freely, hoping he would grow tired of me and send me back home. Unexpectedly, he became deeply attached, allowing me to act out all day long. I couldn't figure it out. Are all men of a certain age this tolerant? Until one day, the system went live. It trembled as it told me that I had married the biggest villain in the book, Jiang Xiong. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now, the story begins. Panicked, I tried to flee, only to crash right into Jiang Xiong's arms. He threw me back onto the bed, unhurriedly loosening his sash. You've teased me for so many days. Tonight it's my turn to tease you back. Don't be afraid, little one. It's just one night. When I opened my eyes, the surroundings were dim and deep. A suppressed gasp reached my ears. As my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I followed the sound. I saw a tall, slender man leaning on a soft couch. His body trembled slightly, and a touch of crimson tinged the corners of his eyes. The dark official robe was half open, revealing a sweat-drenched chest. My heart skipped a beat. Is this the effect of the joyful union powder? What is the reason for this? I cautiously touched him. Before the words were fully spoken, the world spun before my eyes. In an instant, I was pinned down on the bed. A scorching breath rushed over me, pressing down with a terrifying intensity. A hoarse voice sounded in my ear. Who are you? I froze. Actually, I'm a transmigrator. I've transmigrated into the role of the villainess named Luo Wei. In the original story, Luo Wei was originally the fiancé of the Crown Prince Jiang Xiong, pretending to be gentle and innocent. But after the Crown Prince's entire family was put on trial, she revealed her true nature of being greedy for wealth and lust. During the day, she lavishly spent the remaining savings of the male lead. At night, she imprisoned him on the bed, bullying him night after night. As time passed, Luo Wei grew bored and discarded the male lead to the borderlands to fend for himself. Yet, the male lead survived. From then on, he completely turned to the dark side. Not only did he build his own faction, but he also took revenge on Luo Wei 1,000-fold. In the end, when she was on the verge of death, the male lead found it dull and ended her life with a swift strike. And my task is to play out this storyline, sleep with the male lead as much as possible, take all I can get, and then know when to die. So that means, is the man before me the male lead, Jiang Xiong? Click. While I was pondering, a hard sensation suddenly pressed against my waist. I suddenly snapped back to reality. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a dagger pressed against my waist. Damn, male lead, where did you get that dagger? The original story didn't have this part. I was scared out of my wits. His voice, however, rang out coldly once more, filled with a murderous intent. Who exactly are you? Feeling the killing intent from the other side, I trembled all over. Quickly, following the original story setting, I didn't dare delay for a moment and threw myself into his arms, crying, who else could I be? I am naturally your beloved concubine, my lord. The person opposite immediately froze. He repeated in a hoarse voice, beloved concubine. I nodded desperately, fearing that if he didn't believe me, he would end my life with a single stroke. Yes, my lord, have you forgotten? I am Wei. Yesterday you still called me your sweetheart. Why are you so cold today? My heart is breaking. By the end, her voice was trembling with tears, though it was out of fright. It sounded as if it were caused by heartbreak, making it all the more pitiable. A light laugh came from the opposite side. In an instant, his handsome face suddenly drew close. His brows and eyes were like a painting, his nose as straight as a hanging gall, and those deep, cool eyes reflected my own image. My heart skipped a beat in an instant. It really was the male lead. Aside from him, there was no second person in this world born so strikingly handsome. My darling, Lord Jiang gazed at me, his tone suddenly turning tender. Since you are the one I love, do you know that I've been poisoned with the joyful union powder? What should you do? Warm breath brushed past my ear. A tingling sensation spread from the ears to every limb and bone. The sound of a heartbeat suddenly amplified. What does this mean? Should I follow the original plot and be intimate with him? But something just doesn't feel right. In the original story, Prime Minister Jiang clearly detested Luo Wei's closeness and avoided her at all costs. Why is he now actively seeking closeness with me? Seeing me staring at him in a daze, Prime Minister Jiang let out a cold laugh and stood up to leave. You can't even pretend properly, truly foolish. What? How infuriating. How dare you mock me? My anger surged. I grabbed his sleeve, lifted his face, and kissed him. If it's pleasure you want, then pleasure it shall be, after all. Prime Minister Jiang is so handsome, so I'm not at a loss. To fulfill the mission, I'm going all out. Prime Minister Jiang's pupils contracted, and he raised his hand as if to push me away, but was hindered by the effects of the drug. He could no longer restrain himself, breathing lightly as he wrapped his arms around my waist, deepening the kiss. After the intimacy, I was left with only the strength to sob. For the first time, I understood what it meant to bring trouble upon myself. That scoundrel Jiang Xiong truly has terrifying stamina. In my dazed state, I suddenly recalled the original story's description of Luo Wei. The Shun family's eldest daughter has a heart as venomous as a snake, tormenting Minister Jiang night after night, refusing to let him go. When I first read this passage, I only felt hatred for the female antagonist's actions, but now, I've come to feel a sense of admiration. Tormenting night after night. Sister, your stamina is truly impressive. Eyes open once again, an indescribable soreness permeates the entire body. Rubbing my waist, I take a look around. Jade floors and beaded curtains hung low, with exquisite and luxurious decorations everywhere. The room was filled with rare treasures, each exuding an air of nobility. I stared in a daze. Looking down, I realized I was lying on a priceless rosewood bed carved with intricate patterns, far larger than any I had ever slept on before. Tears of happiness suddenly streamed down my face. I knew Luo Wei came from a wealthy family, but I never imagined she was this wealthy. After enduring so much hardship, I finally get to enjoy some blessings. Just as I was tearfully reflecting, a bowl of plain kanji suddenly appeared before me. Then came the familiar voice of Minister Jiang. What's with the tears? Not happy to be in my residence. Me, this is your residence, of course. Could it be yours? I rubbed my eyes. A moment later, I rubbed my eyes in disbelief. No, tears of blood flow in my heart. Weren't you demoted? Why do you still have such a luxurious mansion? Is this the dignity of a fallen noble? Lord Jiang, standing nearby, saw my tears and misunderstood something. His warm fingertips gently wiped away my tears as he comforted me with a hint of awkwardness. Don't cry anymore. Last night, I was the one who overstepped. Have some porridge. It contains pain-relieving herbs. It should make you feel better. What? Recalling the intimate moments from last night, my face flushed instantly, and my tears ceased. After giving a light response, I took the bowl and silently drank the porridge. Indeed, my stomach felt much more comfortable. Prime Minister Jiang looked at me and added, I will take responsibility for what happened last night. From now on, you shall stay in the residence. I nearly choked on a mouthful of porridge, my eyes widening in alarm. This isn't going the right way. According to the original plot, shouldn't I be the one taking care of the down-and-out Minister Jiang right now? How did it end up the other way around? Seeing my silence, Minister Jiang raised an eyebrow and said, What's wrong, my dear? Didn't you say last night that you wanted me to remember you forever? Are you going back on your word now? Me, how could he still remember those words? This was the drunken talk I blurted out last night when he asked me, Can you not hold on anymore? And it stirred my competitive spirit. It was also part of my mission. But, if I really did that, would I even live to see the day the mission is completed? I'm afraid I'd be drained to death first. I immediately felt guilty and muttered a random excuse. Let's forget it. I'm actually not used to other places. The bed in your residence is too unfamiliar. I'm afraid I won't be able to sleep well. Jiang Xiong smiled faintly. It's fine. If you dislike this bed, I'll have someone bring the one from last night. You should be familiar with that one by now, right? What? Shouldn't it have been the female antagonist bullying the male lead into speechlessness in the original story? Why is it that when it's my turn, I'm the one left speechless? Who's bullying whom? Really? In the blink of an eye, several days passed. For some reason, my system lost contact as soon as I entered this world. I couldn't find it no matter how hard I tried. I had no choice but to give up on this unreliable system and continue completing the task on my own. There were 3 things to do: sleep with the prince, save the prince, and go to my death. The first task turned out to be surprisingly smooth. Prime Minister Jiang did not avoid me as he did in the original story. Instead, he always spoke to me gently and kindly. Thinking of this, I cursed under my breath. This man is truly strange. After cursing, I got up and headed toward Minister Jiang's study. It was time for the second task, save the heir. Holding a banknote in hand, I pushed the door open with an imposing air. Minister Jiang, I'm short on funds. Before I could finish my words, cold sweat was already pouring down my back. In the spacious study, dozens of well-trained guards stood in neat rows. As I pushed the door open, they all turned around in unison, eyeing me warily. Then, as if by prior agreement, they drew the swords at their waists. Me, although my final mission was to be killed by the prince, I could still tell the difference between one sword and dozens of swords. My legs went weak, and I wisely dropped to my knees to beg for mercy. Spare me, gentlemen, I was just passing by. I'll leave right away. Right away. Suddenly, a light laugh was heard. Chancellor Jiang lazily propped his chin, tilting his head with a faint smile. Don't be afraid, my lady. Come here. What were you about to say? At these words, the guards finally sheathed their swords and stepped back, but my scalp still tingled with fear. How could I possibly say that? I dawdled as I approached, all my previous arrogance gone, speaking in a soft, coquettish tone. Lord Chancellor, I'm a bit short on funds. Could you spare some silver? Lord Jiang took the banknote and glanced at it, then suddenly frowned. My eyes lit up. Is the plot finally going to follow the original story? In the original story, after the Jiang family was raided, Luo Wei secretly squandered his remaining family fortune. As a result, his seriously ill mother lost all hope of survival and eventually passed away in agony. This was the lifelong pain of Jiang Xiong, and the root of his dark transformation. From then on, he deeply resented the greedy and profit-seeking Luo Wei. I looked at Jiang Xiong's furrowed brow and secretly rejoiced. Is he starting to loathe me? The plot is finally on track. I have hope of completing the task, but the next moment, Minister Jiang tossed my silver note aside. Then, under my excited gaze, he took out a brand new silver note. It was clearly of a larger denomination than mine. Prime Minister Jiang looked at my stunned expression, his tone as casual as if he were discussing today's meal. Use this to withdraw from the bank. That one of yours is only worth 1,000 taels. What can you even do with that? Me, what did he mean by only 1,000 taels? That's a whole 1,000 taels. If your wealth is considered poverty, then what am I? A beggar? Sometimes I even laugh at my own poverty. After a few more days of living in luxury, I suddenly woke up from the dream. No, I can't continue to degenerate like this. My task was clearly to follow the original work. But now the plot has become so chaotic it's bewildering. In the original story, after being slept with and deceived by Luo Wei, Prime Minister Jiang already harbored a deep-seated hatred for her. Why is it that even though I approach and ask for him every day now, Prime Minister Jiang remains as gentle as ever? But is it only my task that has become more difficult? In a fit of anger, I got angry. This life is unbearable. At that very moment, Jiang Xiong's overly handsome face suddenly leaned in, giving a light peck on my cheek. Why are you angry, my lady? Who has upset you? The pair of gold hairpins you fancied last time. I've had a whole box of them found. Would you like to go take a look together? I immediately broke into a delighted smile. Okay, forget it. This life seems to be manageable after all. In the dead of night, a piercing, sharp sound jolted me awake. I groggily rubbed my eyes. Who's making such a racket, disturbing my peaceful sleep? A familiar voice cried out in despair. It's me, Master. I'm the system. Oh, hearing this, I immediately perked up, sat up and asked excitedly, you're finally back. I couldn't see the progress without you. Quick, tell me how the mission is going. The system fell into an eerie silence. After a long while, it finally spoke in a hushed voice. There's one piece of good news and one piece of bad news. Which would you like to hear first? I froze, but I've always preferred to hear the good news first. Let's start with the good news. Then, system, the good news is, Lord Jiang holds deep affection for you and has already fallen for you heart and soul. That scoundrel Lord Jiang actually treats me with genuine sincerity. Is my charm truly this overwhelming? I was instantly overjoyed, my heart filled with sweetness, and I asked again, then what is the bad news? The problem is. The system said with tears streaming down its face, what's the use of you being so fond of him? Your task is to find the crown prince and complete the plot, but you haven't even caught a glimpse of him yet, and you still ask me how the mission is progressing. My mind went blank in an instant. What does this mean? Isn't Lord Jiang the crown prince? Not only is he not the crown prince, he isn't even an ordinary person. He's the most powerful minister in the court. A ruthless and wicked minister. How could these words be associated with Jiang Xiong, who has always been gentle and considerate to me? I took a few deep breaths and rubbed my aching temples. That can't be right. I remember you clearly said before that the heir's name was Jiang Lin, with the courtesy name Xiong, and he was often called Jiang Xiong by those around him. No. The system was so anxious it was practically hopping. Your husband is named Jiang Yunmo, and he holds the highest position among the three excellences. He is the ruthless and ambitious prime minister who wields immense power. Jiang Xiong is an honorific title for him, not his actual name. These two names sound so similar. The system is truly unreasonable. Too lazy to argue with this unreliable system, I asked the most urgent question at hand. What should I do then? System, what else can you do? Run for your life. Quickly. Its tone shrank a bit. Do you know what it means to wield overwhelming power? It is even more ruthless than you can imagine. If you fall into the hands of the heir, it would be a quick death by the sword. But if you fall into the hands of a powerful minister, I fear you would wish you were dead. Escape for your life now, while you still can. Dizzy and disoriented from the system's scare, I instinctively obeyed its words, scrambling up from the bed and turning to flee. But as soon as I looked up, the blood in my entire body froze. In the dim doorway, Jiang Yunmo was standing there quietly, having listened for who knows how long. Though his face showed no expression, hidden in the shadows, he inexplicably evoked a sense of fear. Weiya, who are you speaking with? Where do you think you're running to? It was no different from encountering a ghost. A cold sweat instantly broke out on my skin. I couldn't make out Jiang Yunmo's expression, unsure of how much he had actually heard. I can only take a gamble now. Thinking of this, I used the quickest reaction of my life, instantly beaming with a smile as I rushed forward. My lord, what brings you here? I was just talking with the maid. She played hide-and-seek today and kept telling me how to hide. It sounded quite amusing. I'd like to play with her next time too. Is that all right? As I spoke, I tugged at his sleeve, trying to divert his attention. Under my hopeful gaze, Jiang Yunmo's lips slowly curved into a faint smile. Is that so? Of course, but there's just one small condition. I won the bet. He actually believed it. I breathed a sigh of relief in my heart, then asked with a smile, what condition is it? Jiang Yunmo's thin lips parted slightly, his tone unhurried. Since you enjoy hiding, then play a game of hide-and-seek with me in the mansion first. Half an hour. If you can escape my mansion, I'll let you leave, of course. His deep eyes swirling with emotions I couldn't decipher. If you fail to escape this time, you'll stay by my side forever. The surprise came too suddenly. No sooner had the words left my mouth than I jumped up and hooked pinkies with Jiang Yunmo, afraid he might change his mind the next second. Great, it's a deal, no backing out. With that, I turned and ran off. It's not that I was overconfident. Even if Minister Jiang's residence is large, it's still just a mansion. How hard could it be to escape? In half an hour, I'll crawl out if I have to. Half an hour later, I looked at the endless garden and finally collapsed to the ground in despair. Only one thought remained in my mind. Jiang Yunmo is indeed a powerful minister in the court. He certainly wouldn't let anyone leave easily. I had always thought his residence was just a simple 1 or 2 courtyards deep, so the moment I stepped out of the main hall, it felt as if freedom was already waving at me. Thus, full of energy, I made my way through the lotus pond, the white jade plaza, the artificial lake, and the horse track, finally reaching the garden of his mansion. What a surprise to find a village with willows and flowers beyond mountains and streams. My vision went black. Even as he collapsed to the ground in exhaustion, he couldn't help but shake a furious fist at the sky. Damn those powerful nobles, with so many places, couldn't they spare one for me? Suddenly, a night breeze swept through, and the surroundings immediately rustled with a flurry of sounds. As all sorts of bizarrely shaped flowers and trees swayed in the wind, even a night owl let out a piercing, mournful cry. I silently withdrew my fist again. I was so startled that I broke out in a cold sweat. My heart was racing just now, but now that I've calmed down, I realize there's no one around me, such a large garden. And at this moment, I am the only one here. The atmosphere is truly a bit eerie. I carefully made my way back, not daring to look behind me, afraid that something unclean might be chasing me. Just at that moment, my shoe tip got caught in the bushes. My attention was entirely on what was behind me, and I was caught off guard, falling heavily forward. Oh no! I instantly shut my eyes tightly, bracing for the pain to hit. But just then, a force suddenly grabbed my collar and gave it a light tug. I fell right into someone's embrace. The sudden turn of events scared me out of my wits, and I struggled desperately. What is this? Don't cling to me. A light chuckle was heard. The person opposite easily restrained my struggling, draping a warm coat over me to block out the night's chill. A familiar sandalwood scent wafted over. I instantly stopped moving, opening my eyes and looking up. I met Jiang Yunmo's smiling gaze. You've lost. For some reason, the moment I saw Jiang Yunmo, my tense heart instinctively relaxed. Even though I had failed to escape, I felt an untimely sense of relief at this moment. I muttered stubbornly. Can I take back the bet I just made? I never expected the Prime Minister's residence to be so large. This is so unfair. Jiang Yunmo smiled faintly. You can't go back on your word. You made a pinky promise with me. Have you forgotten? The moonlight was like water. His breathtakingly beautiful face under the moonlight became even more captivating, almost more enchanting than the moon's glow. For a moment, I was utterly mesmerized. It took me a while before I turned my head away. My ears flushed red. I forgot. Jiang Xiong stared at me, then suddenly chuckled softly a few times. Then your memory truly is poor. Let me help you remember it more deeply. The price for losing the game is, he took my hand, interlacing our fingers, and leaned down to place a solemn kiss on the back of my hand. Stay by my side forever. Hearing such sweet words from such an incomparably handsome man was truly overwhelming. I washed my face with cold water 3 times in a row before finally feeling the heat in my cheeks subside. After calming down, I suddenly realized the consequences. Damn it, system, if I miss this chance, I'll never be able to escape. What should I do? The system pondered for a moment. How about we try a different approach? Instead of running away on your own, why not make Jiang Xiong unable to stand you and drive you away himself? I was taken aback. Can this really work? The system patted its chest confidently. Don't worry, I've traveled far and wide and met so many men. I understand them much better than you do. Men detest women who are overly clingy and controlling. Just make full use of your talent for being dramatic. Cause trouble unreasonably every day. And annoy him. I guarantee you'll be kicked out of the mansion in no time. That sounds quite reasonable. So I nodded emphatically. Great idea. The next evening, Chancellor Jiang returned home a little later than usual. As he walked inside, he unfastened his belt, a faint weariness evident in his demeanor. This was my chance. The system had mentioned that causing mischief when a man is tired yields the best results, so I immediately dashed over and threw myself into his arms. She threw her head back and burst into loud sobs. Lord Jiang stiffened, then gently wiped away my tears with his fingertips. What's wrong? I choked back sobs and clutched at his lapel. My lord, do you have someone else outside? Through tear-blurred eyes, I saw Minister Jiang raise an eyebrow subtly. I don't care. You came back so late today, you must have gone to find someone else and abandoned me. I squeezed out tears with all my might, thinking of the saddest moments of my life, trying my best to put on a heartbroken look. But just then, something warm suddenly touched my face. I turned my head in confusion to see what it was, and then, suddenly, I couldn't cry anymore. Jiang Xiong held an exquisite food box, his tone tinged with a hint of helplessness. See, I told you your memory is failing. Didn't you just say a few days ago that you wanted to try the pastries from that new shop? They opened today, which is why I was delayed. I froze. It suddenly came to mind there was indeed a newly opened pastry shop a few days ago, and it was said that the pastry chef was exceptionally skilled, making only 5 servings of pastries each day. I just mentioned it casually at the time, never really thinking I could actually buy it, but to my surprise, Chancellor Jiang actually bought it back for me. I covered my chest, trying my best to suppress the inexplicably quickened heartbeat. No. I absolutely cannot lose to this handsome man's trick. Turning my gaze, I suddenly caught a glimpse of a smear of rouge on Minister Jiang's collar, finally finding another opportunity. Wait, what is that on your clothes? The fighting spirit is reignited. I stood on tiptoe excitedly and yanked open his collar. How could there be a rouge stain on your collar? Chancellor Jiang's ears flushed slightly red as his clothes were pulled open. Only upon hearing my words did he snap back to reality. Glancing down indifferently at his collar, then, with slender fingers, he gently pressed them against my lips. My words froze in my throat. Just as I was about to ask what he was doing, I heard Jiang Xiong's slightly hoarse voice whisper by my ear, "This is your rouge mark. This morning when I said goodbye to you, I accidentally brushed against it and couldn't bear to wipe it away." My face suddenly flushed red, though Minister Jiang wielded immense power at court, as a husband. He was truly the perfect embodiment of security for his wife. He left me utterly incapable of finding even the slightest fault in him. So, I had no choice but to stumble through my excuses. "Please don't find me bothersome, Your Excellency. It's just that I'm too insecure, wanting you to always stay by my side, with eyes only for me, which is why I got a bit emotional." "Okay," Chancellor Jiang interrupted me, with a flick of his slender fingers. He produced a pair of silver bracelets from who knows where, with a gentle smile that was as warm as jade, yet under the dim lamplight, it appeared exceptionally gloomy and stubborn. "If that's the case, then let us be locked together, never to part. How about that?" My expression stiffened, and I instinctively took a step back. Is this really not a joke? How could a normal person carry shackles around? Yet, Minister Jiang's expression showed no sign of jest. He approached me step by step. Unhurriedly, his tone was gentle, yet each word struck deep into my heart. "Being so proactive tonight. Have you missed me?" I was about to argue, but the next moment, he had already pressed me against the wall, leaning in to kiss me. The scorching heat ignited the moment we touched. Jiang Xiong's unique scent, warmth, and touch invaded my world so forcefully. I struggled to breathe, forced to tilt my head back. Immediately, a crisp sound was heard as the cold iron shackle clamped around my wrist. Prime Minister Jiang whispered in my ear, "Don't worry, from now on, you and I will never be apart." Fortunately, although Prime Minister Jiang was stubborn by nature, seeing me cry and claim it was just a joke, he did not actually lock me up for a lifetime. Just as a warning, I was locked up for the entire night. The next day when I got up, my waist and back were unbearably sore. While rubbing the sore spots, I silently reflected on the reasons for my failure. I thought I had feigned enough possessiveness, but it turned out the other party was even more possessive, truly walking right into the trap. Now it seems the strategy of hoping Chancellor Jiang would grow tired of my pestering and expel me from his residence is likely unworkable. After all, Chancellor Jiang's mindset is quite different from ordinary people's. I pester him, yet he doesn't feel annoyed at all. On the contrary, I was overjoyed. So I had no choice but to consult the system and devise another plan. This time, after pondering for a long while, the system finally came up with a way to deal with Prime Minister Jiang. "Master, I've figured it out. Someone like Prime Minister Jiang, who has such a strong possessive nature, happens to adore clingy personalities. Perhaps we should do the opposite and act more fiercely." I was completely baffled. How should I do that? For example, you could glare at him, scold him harshly, tell him how much you despise him, and that no one would want to be around such a madman. Someone like him, who enjoys control, would surely dislike anyone who dares to oppose him. Out of sheer anger and embarrassment, you will surely be driven out of the mansion. That does make sense, but I was still stunned. How exactly does one glare angrily? I strained my eyes for a long while, but still couldn't make them turn red. It seemed I had to find another way. So when Minister Jiang returned to his room that night, he saw my eyes swollen like peaches, clearly from crying. He immediately strode forward. bent down to look at my eyes, and asked, "What's wrong?" I keep the system's guidance in mind, trying hard to glare at him. "I hate you." But Jiang Xiong's expression remains unchanged. As he gently rubs my sore, strained eyes, he nods, "But I like you. Because I like you, that's why I'm so worried. Could you tell me what's really going on?" His tone was as gentle as water, easily diffusing my first round of offense. I paused for a moment. It took me a while to find my voice again, stammering out words to humiliate him. "How dare you even ask? You're so insane. Who could possibly stand being around you?" The imposing manner was indeed quite impressive. It's just a pity that, having just made my eyes red from crying, my voice still carried a sob, which immediately diminished the imposing effect by more than half. Prime Minister Jiang stared at me, his throat moving before he finally spoke in a hoarse voice. "All right, my dear. I admit it was wrong of me to lock you up last night. Don't cry, I'll be gentler next time. If you wish to lock me back, that's fine too. I'll let you have your revenge, me." Sometimes I truly feel Lord Jiang and I are not on the same page. Otherwise, why does he always steer the conversation to such strange places? Jiang Xiong rubbed my dazed head. He then made to rise. "I'll call someone to fetch some ice to soothe your eyes." No, my pupils suddenly constricted. I had mustered all my courage to humiliate Jiang Xiong. If interrupted once, it would be hard to continue. At this thought, I suddenly stood up and pressed firmly on Minister Jiang's shoulders. Then I gave a strong push, caught completely off guard. Minister Jiang fell onto the couch just like that. A look of surprise flashed in his eyes. This is the moment." In the next instant, I was already stepping on his abdomen with my embroidered shoes. The system was cheering and jumping for joy in my mind. "Exactly like this, Master, well done." Humiliate him thoroughly. Prime Minister Jiang seemed to be stunned, seizing the opportunity. I ground the heel of my embroidered shoe against him a few more times. I must say, stepping on his abdomen was quite comfortable. The lines were smooth and firm, a sign of well-practiced martial arts. "What's the matter? Didn't you just say I could take my revenge as I pleased? Now that you want to escape, how can you manage it?" While speaking harshly, I nervously conversed with the system. So, was the humiliation harsh enough this time? The system smiled confidently. "Leave it to me. Don't worry, Master. I've previously investigated Prime Minister Jiang's life and found that he was abused and humiliated since childhood, and he detests this the most. All those who bullied and humiliated him have vanished without a trace." My smile instantly froze. This unreliable system. "Brother, have you ever considered that I might disappear too? I just wanted to be expelled from the mansion, not sent to the underworld." At this thought, I immediately tried to pull my foot back. But I couldn't move it. Trembling with fear, I looked at Minister Jiang, only to see flames burning in his eyes, concealing a scorching heat. His voice was extremely low and dark. "Since you want revenge, why not be bolder?" As he spoke, he gripped my ankle with one hand, forcing me all the way down. Even though the embroidered shoe separated us and nothing was actually touched, I felt my entire foot burn. My scalp tingled with alarm, and I instinctively tried to break free, but this time, he held my leg firmly and pressed me into the soft couch. The positions were instantly reversed. Jiang Xiong looked down at me from above, a faint smile curling his lips. "You always say I have a twisted mind, but aren't you the one who enjoys even more outrageous games? If you have any other preferences, feel free to speak them outright. No need to take such a roundabout way. Let's all give it a try tonight." After 7 days of this torment, Chancellor Jiang still showed no sign of weariness. But my body could no longer endure. The system also crashed. Is this man out of his mind? Even after all this torment, he's not annoyed. I can hardly stand to watch anymore. At this point, there's only the worst plan left. I had no interest in the system's terrible ideas anymore, but out of our bond, I still made a gesture for it to go on. The system said, "Everyone in the world loves money. Why don't you go and spend all his silver?" It really was the worst plan. This difficulty is even higher than the previous idea. Given the wealth of Minister Jiang, if all his silver were piled together, it would probably take 3 days and 3 nights to count it all. But since things have come to this, I have only this one method left. Although it may not be exhausted, spending enough to make his heart ache shouldn't be too difficult, right? At the autumn imperial examination market in the capital, high-ranking officials, dignitaries, wealthy merchants, and affluent households all gathered together. Along the way, both sides of the stalls were filled with rare treasures. In the past, I would never have dared to set foot in such an occasion, but now the tables have turned. I used the Prime Minister's silver notes to buy everything along the way, nearly clearing out every stall, drawing countless astonished gazes. People around couldn't stop whispering among themselves, judging by their lip movements. They seemed to be guessing how much longer I would keep buying. I can't quite explain it myself. I only know that I have to keep buying until Jiang Xiong can't take it anymore. Ding dong dong. I don't know how long it had been, but finally, Jiang Xiong's footsteps were heard outside the door. Could it be? Suppressing the excitement in my heart, I turned and called out, "Does the Prime Minister have something to seek me for? I heard you've been making purchases all along," I responded softly. "Is the Prime Minister worried about the expenses?" Unexpectedly, Minister Jiang seemed to be amused, his voice tinged with a hint of laughter. "What nonsense are you thinking? I'm just concerned about your hands. Isn't it tiring to carry so many things? You didn't bring many servants today, so I suppose you can't manage." "I've sent a few more people, they'll be here shortly." I was startled. His tone couldn't help but carry a note of confusion. Have I bought too many things? Won't it be too ostentatious? During these days of interaction, I've found that although Minister Jiang is a high-ranking official in the court, he is quite low-key and reserved in his daily interactions and conduct, but my actions today are in stark contrast to his style. Does he really not mind? Yet Minister Jiang clearly doesn't seem to care. His voice remained gentle and steady, carrying an intangible power that brought a sense of reassurance. "No matter, go ahead and be as bold as you want, I'll take care of it for you." The system's final method had also failed, but strangely, I didn't feel all that disappointed. Instead, my heart was beating faster than usual, as if some unfamiliar emotion was boiling in my chest. How truly strange. After the market visit ended, I rubbed my chest and headed toward the changing area. Since it was the women's quarters, the guards had all stopped outside on their own accord. I walked in alone. I found a compartment, took off the luxurious and intricate clothing, and changed into ordinary attire. I finally let out a sigh of relief. Though fine clothes are splendid, they are also too cumbersome. After a day of walking, I nearly collapsed from exhaustion. But before I could fully catch my breath, a group of women dressed as noble ladies rushed in. Suddenly, a fierce voice reached my ears. That flashy woman just now was actually Minister Jiang's companion. Oh, are people actually gossiping about me? Curiosity piqued. I quietly pressed against the door panel, hoping to hear more clearly. "Sure, lower your voice. You're speaking so loudly that people outside can hear." Oh my heavens. Has anyone counted how many things that woman bought today? She's truly spending money like water. What a spendthrift. Indeed, after she got together with Prime Minister Jiang, she hasn't shown up in our circle, and the moment she does, she's so ostentatious, as if she's showing off to us. She probably wants to catch men's eyes, dressing so extravagantly on purpose. It made my husband keep staring at her all day. She must be feeling so pleased with herself. For Prime Minister Jiang to be with such a woman, it's truly a disgrace to his family's reputation. As I listened, I felt not the slightest ripple of emotion. Instead, I almost wanted to laugh. I never expected that these people I've never met would talk about me like this behind my back. But in this life of mine, there's no shortage of gossip from others. As long as it doesn't get in my way, no matter what they say, I won't spare it a single glance. So I pushed the door, intending to leave. But just at that moment, an exceptionally sharp voice came through. Am I the only one who thinks that Lord Jiang isn't a good person either? Upon hearing the words Lord Jiang, for some reason, my departing footsteps suddenly halted. The noble woman continued indignantly, "That woman is merely a merchant's daughter. What right does she have to speak? In my opinion, what she did tonight must have been instructed by that vile woman, Minister Jiang, when he used to collaborate with my father, the Vice Minister of Works. He actually cut ties with us just because we accidentally destroyed a village while building a road. Vile people are just vile people." At this, my footsteps came to a complete halt. It turns out, I knew so little about Minister Jiang. I was unaware of every single thing she mentioned. But in these days of living closely with Minister Jiang, I've come to know a different side of him. He would bandage an injured stray cat, personally receive the director of the charity house who came to express gratitude, and even indulge someone as unruly as me without limit. Every little thing makes me feel that he is not as terrifying as the system described, nor is he as malicious as the person outside the door claimed. When they scolded me, I had thick skin since childhood and didn't care, but when they criticized Jiang Xiong, I instinctively felt confused and absurd, and a long-absent surge of anger. Everyone outside the door was shocked, covering their mouths in disbelief. Good heavens, how dare you speak recklessly about Minister Jiang? If this gets out, it's over. The noblewoman curled her crimson lips. What's there to fear? It's not like Minister Jiang would plant spies in the ladies' changing area. Hi. Before she could finish her words, I gently tapped her shoulder. The noblewoman instantly fell silent. She slowly turned to look at me, her delicate makeup unable to conceal her suddenly pale face, as if they had seen a ghost. With a smile on my lips, I said gently, "What are you sisters talking about? Could you let me in on it too?" Unexpectedly, although these people had been gossiping enthusiastically behind my back, when they actually saw me in person, they were so frightened they could hardly speak. "Oh, isn't this the one by Lord Jiang's side? Ah, little sister, you came without a sound. You really scared me." "Exactly. Ha ha ha, look, we were just talking about you. And here you are, what a coincidence." The noble women forced smiles as they crowded around, pretending to be affectionate as they took my arm, and I let them hold me, my tone still gentle. "It wasn't that much of a coincidence. I've been listening here for half an incense stick's time before coming out. I bought many things at the market today and am quite tired, so I rested a bit longer in the changing area. I hope you sisters don't mind." At this, everyone's expressions turned a mix of colors, quite a spectacle to behold. "Little sister, don't take it to heart. We sisters had some wine and were just talking drunken nonsense. Please don't hold it against us. I'll take my leave first. I should be going too. Until we meet again." They moved like the wind, their embroidered shoes carrying them swiftly away, vanishing in the blink of an eye. Judging by this, I'm afraid they have no intention of ever meeting me again in this lifetime. I slowly put away my smile, then I called out, "System, you mentioned earlier that you've looked into Prime Minister Jiang's background. Could you tell me about it?" "Of course. But," the system sounded puzzled, "why do you suddenly want to know this?" I couldn't quite explain it myself. When I first entered the book, I just wanted to quickly complete the system tasks and didn't care much about the specific targets, thinking that whoever it was would be just the same. That's why, in the end, I could even mistake the protagonist for the villain. But now it's different. For some reason, I really want to get to know Jiang Xiong better right now. I want to understand his joys and sorrows, to know about his past experiences, to understand what kind of person he truly is. I want to understand the other side of him, the one I have never seen. Jiang Xiong's father is the head of the Xiao family in the imperial court. He was known for his promiscuity and once forced himself upon Jiang Xiong's mother while drunk. She left without mercy the very next day. Though devastated and despairing, my mother was a woman of inner strength. She quickly pulled herself together, setting up a stall in the capital to support Jiang Xiong all by herself. In her spare time, she would hold the child and gently say over and over again, "Bauer, your name is Jiang Yunmo. Let's not mention the hardships of the past, from now on. May our days be peaceful and safe." She kept her word. In the years that followed, no matter how difficult life was for the orphaned mother and child, they never once sought out Jiang Yunmo's father. Prime Minister Jiang grew up surrounded by such affection. Yet at the age of 12, this warmth was shattered in the cruelest way. Father suddenly arrived with a group of people and forcibly took Jiang Xiong away. He looked at his mother, who had fallen to the ground, and sneered, "This is, after all, the bloodline of my Xiao family. Don't even dream of letting him take your outsider surname." Xia. It turned out that the Xiao family's matriarch was infertile, and after worrying for a long time, the father finally remembered that he had an illegitimate child outside. So, he immediately took Jiang Xiong back to his residence, claiming to the outside world that she was the birth child of the principal wife. The father was overjoyed, the principal wife was overjoyed, and the entire Xiao household was overjoyed. But from then on, her mother's life was destroyed for the second time. She wept all day long, and went to the gates of the Xiao residence to make a scene countless times. But each time she was ruthlessly dragged away. From then on, I never saw Jiang Xiong again. On the other hand, as soon as Jiang Xiong entered the mansion, his name was changed to Jiang Yunmo. He silently endured the cold stares from his biological father and stepmother, and the harsh, almost cruel discipline of the noble household. He fled only to search for his mother. That day, Prime Minister Jiang made thorough preparations and finally managed to escape the mansion. But young as he was, he had no idea how vast this deep mansion compound truly was. He got lost among the layers of courtyards and was eventually found by the servants, who dragged him back. Once this incident came to light, the Xiao mansion was furious. The lady called him a low-born wretch who needed to be bled to teach him his place. From then on, Jiang Xiong was beaten daily, covered in wounds, but he never gave up. Time and again he tried to escape. Time and again he was caught. Time and again he faced harsher punishments. After an unknown number of attempts, Jiang Xiong finally escaped from the Xiao residence. With a heart full of both joy and apprehension, he limped his way back to his old courtyard. What greeted him, however, were dust-covered belongings and a sigh from a neighbor. Poor woman, barely past 30, and she has already passed away. From that day on, Prime Minister Jiang's temperament changed drastically. At this point in the system's explanation, I couldn't bear to listen any longer and quickly made a gesture for it to stop. The system then fell silent. I closed my eyes, trying to suppress the bitterness in my heart, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't suppress it. My thoughts suddenly returned to that day in the Prime Minister's garden, when I had run through the layers of courtyards for half an hour and finally collapsed from exhaustion. Back then, I didn't know that Prime Minister Jiang had once been just like me, bearing wounds all over, searching for a way out again and again in this deep, sprawling mansion. Time and again, I lost my way, but I was different from him. Though I was lost, someone came to find me and draped a warm coat over my shoulders. Yet when 12-year-old Jiang Xiong lost his way, all that awaited him was more torment and suffering. Time and time again, endlessly,